Alright, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. As I said the other day, I've not really been feeling too great, so yeah, I'm kind of better today, but it's just this kind of lingering kind of stuff, like, you know, and you get the residue kind of stuff. It's just, yeah. Oh well, it'll clear up. So it's been blowing my nose all morning, pretty much. So trying to get rid of all this crap. Yeah. I'll get into the topic in a bit, but yeah, just I think it's because I went too hard with like working out and stuff, and just burnt myself out. And it can make you more vulnerable to illnesses and stuff. So that's something I would, recommend to people, that, to not kind of go too hard with these things, because it can set you back and make you feel ill. So yeah, it's kind of like not been good. I don't normally get quite this much of like cold symptoms usually, but yeah. But it's just is what it is. But I think going forward, I need to just be a bit more moderate my exercise more, because doing a certain amount of exercise can be good for your immune system and can actually make you more resilient. But then doing too much can actually, I think they say it can even be worse than not doing any. So I think we should be trying to do a balance of moderate exercise, a mix of, strength training as well as some cardio, but don't overdo it, prioritize recovery, that kind of stuff. But I was just like, I think I've just been pushing it too hard, and that can like temporarily weaken your immune system, and then, so I think that's what's happened, really. But yeah, and I think it's just some cold, but it's just been a bit worse than usual. Usually I still can just be like normal, but I've just been feeling a bit off, been feeling a bit tired, and just not particularly well, really. But thank you for the like, whoever that is. Oh, Julian, how you doing? So I noticed that some of these titles I've been using have been attracting more viewers and stuff. So I think it's because, if I have an actual topic, then people are more likely to stick around, and it also probably gets pushed out more because of the algorithm and all that. So I want to talk a bit about the whole tax situation in the UK, because it's just so messed up, because it's like they're saying, oh, we're not increasing tax, but they're actually doing it by stealth, and it's like basically forcing people into higher tax brackets because they're basically freezing the thresholds. So, which is wrong, really. But yeah, the thing is, I don't think the average person is going to end up benefiting from that, are they? Yeah, I'm in the UK. Yeah. What did you think? Where do you think I was? Of course, I'm in the UK. Oh, you're in Canada. All right. Yeah. So like, it's crazy the stuff going on in this country right now. We've got, free speech doesn't even exist at this point in the UK, and people are like, oh, but we need to clamp down on hate speech, but it's like context dependent, and a lot of the time they'll just kind of blanket, if someone says anything slightly out of line, then suddenly now they're getting arrested and potentially put in jail just for like just a moment of madness. I don't think that is fair. But yet, for example, there was this one where this woman who got arrested for, because she, said the F word that is in like the 6th letter F word, you know what I mean? And she like, because she was, really pissed off because she got abused by this guy that she was with or something, and she was like venting or something. And apparently her and her friend fell out or something, and then her so-called friend dobbed her in. It's just not right, is it, really? It's just Anyway, I've got some people watching. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. So, yeah, so what are they going to be doing with the taxes, you know? Is it because they're bringing in more people or something? There's more and more people that... hello, Lisa. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me. How's your day going so far? I hope you're having a good one. You know, what are they actually doing? Is it because they're need it to house more of these illegals or something? I don't know. Because where are they getting their money from to do all that? So maybe that's why. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they're going to be increasing taxes or something. I don't know what your thoughts on that is, but because surely it can't be like cheap to how many of these people are coming in every day? I'm not saying that I disagree with immigration in general if it's legal and all that, but it's like, why are these people getting prioritized over, say, homeless people that need shelter and stuff? But yet they'll put, that's what people are pissed off at, is the fact that they're prioritizing these these kind of what you call them, like, a lot of them aren't even fleeing war-torn countries anyway, so that's a whole lot of BS. Yeah, in Canada, yeah, it's just very much like open borders and stuff, which I think like borders should be like open as far as like the people are actually like genuine and stuff, let them in. But if they're actually going to bring something to it, like someone was saying the other day, we need skilled workers from different countries because they have different skills and stuff. It's like we've got say like people from say like India or whatever who they're good doctors and stuff like that. So if they're actually bringing value into the country, then fair enough. But the thing is they're letting all these people in that are actually taking advantage, and they have no regard for the system over here, and but it's like, why do they keep letting them in? I watched this thing actually. It was where there was like using these white girls as bait to try and kind of encourage more immigrants to come in or something, to try and be like, oh look, you can get tons of white girls here to like fall for you or something. But it's just a marketing to get more people to come in or something. It's just really just pathetic. I don't know if you've seen all that, but there's been some like news on that, like it was in some newspaper or something, but I watched it on a YouTube channel talking about that. It was like, what the hell's going on here? It's like they're just because people are concerned that, like, I mean, this might sound like racist or whatever, I don't care, but it's like some people are concerned that kind of native Brits will become the minority soon, especially because a lot of these people that come in, they give birth to more children on average. It's it's be quite easy to end up out competing, I mean, stuff. So it's like, so people are concerned that like things like Sharia law and stuff like that could end up becoming more of a thing where we're already seeing like kind of like two-tier system, like with certain people being let off for things if they're from a certain demographic, but then getting punished if they're from a different demographic. And that's what's pissing people off. It's not that they're racist or anything like that. And yeah, there is obviously some racist people out there who are bigoted and whatever, but it's the fact that there seems to be like it's like, for example, you've got, say, I remember there would park up on double yellow lines and nothing would get done about it because they're afraid to, because they were, because of racial profile and whatever. But it's like, they come in here and oftentimes they're not even respecting our laws. So yeah, it just all seems a bit kind of, like, I mean, obviously if they've been living here a long time, and it's like, we can't just deport them back. There's some people out there, like, quite extreme views who think that we should just deport all of them, but I just don't think that's a good idea. I think that we should just deport the ones that are, it's just a bit of, like, what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about it in relation to, like, where taxpayer money is going to and stuff like that, and why is it that we can't, so prioritize our own people, like the homeless people and the people that are struggling to make ends meet? Why is it that we give, these people, like free meals and stuff like that, and when we've got people who are, having to go to food banks and stuff to, I've seen about in Ireland it's gone pretty bad, but there was also stuff in Southport last year, I think it was like, went crazy there, and because of the incident that had happened, and there's like a massive disproportion in the amount of crime from these sort of communities, if you know what I mean. So like, but then you're deemed as racist if you point that out. It's just a fact. It's just being pragmatic and Ireland. I said Ireland would kick odd first. God bless Ireland. Are you from Ireland? Top of the morning to you. Are you not from? It's easy to think that I think it's more about losing freedom. Yeah, I think it's just like when you've got, all these people coming in, then it's like we can end up having them, overthrow the, like the rights of our people and stuff. Oi from Brum, native English, yeah, Birmingham. I've heard some about some like gangs in Birmingham or something. What's Ireland going to do against the government? They ain't doing shit. Focus on making good money. Yeah, I think that's really the best thing that we can do to try and kind of, they can try and put the taxes up, but we just have to become more smart, I guess. Because it's going to make a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, but then they say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So you just have to have that mindset of like, well, you ain't going to stop me. You're going to put the taxes up, but then, just have to learn to be more savvy with things, getting rid of any unnecessary subscriptions, things like that, because a lot of people just waste money in so many different ways that are like crazy, really. But the Irish will reform a paramilitary. What do you mean? So it's like a military, but it isn't. I don't know. That's what I think. Like a. But I hope everyone's having a good day. Share the live out if you can. If you're new here, please subscribe and like the live as well. But this government is like, I was looking into this thing called the Fabian Society, and that is something that, the Labour has a lot of, it's influenced Labour a lot apparently, but that they actually even apparently helped to start up Labour in the first place. So, and you look at like, what they stand for, and then there's like quite a socialist kind of think tank, and it's like they're influencing a lot of policies. I think so these like, you have these different societies that are, pulling the strings and stuff, and they take more control. Well, that's it, when you've got things like this digital ID and stuff like that, and as a way to kind of censor and, stop things from being distributed, or you have to sign in, prove your age to see it, which is just going to mean a lot of stuff is just going to get, kind of censored. But they can just come up with some excuse and be like, oh, well, this might not be, appropriate for certain demographics or whatever, and it's like, well, who's to decide that, Why does some kind of like authoritarian get to decide that? They get to decide what, is deemed as, kind of borderline content or whatever, because that's what they're, doing with like kind of the way that they censor things, or like even things like on YouTube videos sometimes where it's not quite deemed as ban worthy, but it's kind of, it's crossing that line, so it's almost crossing that line. It's like kind of treading that line between what's acceptable and what isn't. So they'll let you post it, but then they'll kind of shadow it, you know what I mean, that they'll they'll bury it in the algorithm. They'll make it so it doesn't reach as many people, or they'll do things like you have to verify your age to see it, things like that. So to me, it's more of just a way to kind of sanitize the internet to make it more PC and just kind of like silence dissenting voices and stuff like that. They don't take control of the government as people in every group that exists. What do you mean? But yeah, I had someone commenting. I'll see what it was saying. That I'll just kind of read it out and see what you guys think. Yeah, so let's just have a look what they were saying. So let's just go back. So it says here, some of the so-called patriotic/nationalist YouTube makers are following the BS Hollywood script on not voting. They are for civil war. It is not going to happen. A national strike is not going to happen. A military takeover is not going to happen. The only way is by voting. The YouTube makers, one lot say if the MSM are for Farage, then he is state-run. The others say if the MSM are against Farage, then he is state-run. Both saying the same BS. Now we have Advance UK and some of the same YouTube video makers are starting to say the same thing about Ben, the leader, Advance UK. Also, some of the so-called patriotics are not living in Britain, they run away abroad. Well, it's because they don't want to live in a country that's dying, basically. Yeah, I guess you could say they're not really patriotic if they're leaving the country, but it kind of gets to a point for some people to decide, you know what, is it even worth it? We've got shitty weather a lot of the time. We've got, and then it's like there's not even a lot of prosperity for a lot of people. So, at least, give people a good standard of living in this kind of miserable, kind of rainy, dull place, like most of the year. Maybe that'll be, good if the climate changes more, gets warmer, then there'll be less rain, more sunshine. So maybe there's some good things about climate change, But hope everyone's doing well today. Share the live out if you can. That would be really appreciated. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Some people say like we should be, have a revolution. There needs to be some kind of, really kind of like, abrupt kind of like switch up. But then some say we need to have a more kind of gradual kind of reform. But I don't know. Like, thing is, if you had a party doing that and say, oh yeah, we're about reform and whatever, and just kind of gradually changing the system up or something, but then it's like, the problem is that they could just kind of keep you waiting forever to actually have any meaningful change. Like, if they're going to say they're going to make change, then I think they should try and, they shouldn't be messing around trying to, you could say, well, people need to adapt or whatever, but I think people are just really sick of this shit that's going on. Like, I think I think a lot of things need to be changed in this system that we have now, and some might say we need to completely, like, overthrow the system, but I think we just need to try and, just kind of actually listen to the people, but unfortunately, the government doesn't care about Vietnam communist all about it. Yeah, was she around in the Vietnam War or something? But it's like a lot of people don't even understand what communism and fascism and all these things are. It's like a lot of people just throw out words and they don't actually know what it even means. It's like liberalism as well. It's like, because communism is about kind of, I mean, it's like they'll kind of say stuff like Biden is a communist or something like that, or Starmer is a communist. It's like, well, no, they're not. You don't know what you're talking about, or you're just trying to really exaggerate things. Sounded pretty awful actually, and their money's not worth much, so they have to work all the time. Yeah, I think the problem is when you don't have any kind of incentive to innovate and become entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Like we need to have that kind of in society because that's gonna progress society. So look at places like North Korea, it's like, yeah, everything's all kind of government and all that, isn't it? It's just all, but yeah, I mean, I guess you could say they're kind of communist and fascist at the same time, you could argue. Because I was thinking like they're quite a, sort of nationalist kind of nation. Same with like China as well, I would argue. Very nationalist, because they're very much all about their own country and all that, and yeah. Whereas, say, like more in the West, it's more kind of like what's the word? Like kind of more, globalist or whatever. Like you've got things like EU and stuff like that. A lot of the countries are more, international, and yeah, the Polish don't speak well of communism. All right, Richard. Yeah. So what was his points in favour of communism then? Some might argue it's never been properly tried or something. He was saying that meat available wasn't full of water and rubbish. All right. Okay. What is it kind of like to try and debunk like because people talk about like, sort of like Leninist kind of, in this like Soviet Union and all that, and people saying that there was like a lot of people starving, and some say up to about 100 million people died because of that regime or something. Hello, Nev, how you doing? What do you mean, welcome to the rest of the world? That was about it, really. Okay. We drowning in tax here in the US. Yeah. But what they're doing in this country is they're saying, oh, we're not going to increase tax. But what they're doing is a stealth tax increase by freezing whatever you call it, tax bracket thresholds until I think 2030. So that's like another 5 years of just inflation where they're just going to like, people are going to be forced into higher tax brackets, meaning they're going to have to pay more tax. But what are they doing with all this money? Is it because they plan to like use it for immigration or some shit? I don't know. What is it all going to be for? Is it to try and hire more police to try and kind of, because they're going to need more of that to try and deal with all the hate speech or something? What is it that they're going to be using all this money for? Because I bet you it's not going to be to benefit everyday people of this country, is it? If anything, they're probably going to use it to actually subvert their people and just kind of, yeah. What do you all think? It's just, yeah. Starmer giving frozen Russian assets to Ukraine, asking for larger war instead of fixing Britain. Yeah, it's just like, when they're dealing with other people's problems instead of trying to fix their own problems first. If I remember, like, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing could have been nipped in the bud right away, because Boris Johnson actually apparently sabotaged a peace agreement that they could have had between Putin and Zelensky or something. So like, yeah, I'm not saying that's happened 100%, but it really seems like it. What's that? Oh yeah, it was a couple of billion in assets, I think, to a crazy amount. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? The amount of money that's being swindled and what have you, you know. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. We've got all these, you know, ID checks. All this stuff has happened since Starmer's got into, I don't know. But, I mean, I don't think any of the other ones were any better, though. I mean, obviously Boris Johnson did some stupid shit and, like, but it seems like, yeah, the Starmer's really kind of, like, balls deep in this fucking Fabian society, whatever. And they're really, like, you know, have a tight grip on him, basically, it seems. You know? Same with a lot of them people, really. Yeah, well, Fabian Society is like a left-wing think tank that's just... They actually started up Labour or something. But apparently, like, Labour used to actually be for the working class at some point, but clearly they're not now if they're actually kind of... Well, maybe they actually are, because what they're trying to do is kind of keep people there, right? They're trying to keep people as working class. They want to get rid of the middle class, because they're gonna get rid of any kind of upward mobility, because increasing taxes will basically make it harder to actually progress upwards. You know, this is why you shouldn't be taxing, you know, like low earners, like really, at least not much anyway, because it's not right when you're, you know, you're just like, people are already kind of, you know, kind of struggling as it is, and then they're gonna put the taxes up even more. He wants the British public to be outraged how his lesbian daughter got pushed or something, but what he's doing to the UK doesn't matter. Yeah, there's all distractions, he's saying, or something. What do you mean, Alex? Are you trying to like kind of be like ironic or something? Oh yeah, Tony Blair, it was like, yeah, they were saying about like, you know, like New Labour was like Tory light or something. I don't know. I don't think they really kind of would probably identify as any kind of left and right wing, because all they care about is, you know, who actually kind of, you know, benefits them. But I think both the left and the right wing have been corrupted. So, like, is there really any kind of hope in it, any of it? Hi, Mark. Yeah. How you doing? Tuition fees for uni happened under that shit. Yeah. But then again, it's like, you could say, well, but where's that money coming from if we don't have tuition fees? Because you could argue that maybe there needs to be that, because if everyone starts going to university, then the degree isn't worth anything then. So maybe it is good in a sense to gatekeep it somewhat, you could argue, but personally I think most courses at uni are just bullshit anyway. So I do busking and stuff, so just kind of like, yeah. Anyway, that stuff's all cash in hand, isn't it? So, yeah. I didn't been doing busking and stuff, so, anyway. Yeah, it was just, yeah, it's, I mean, depends on how much you make, I suppose, but anyway. Why is everyone, like, asking me about, like, personal stuff, anyway? Just go, eh? Alright, Miss Daisy, how you doing? I hope you're well. Yeah, so, it's like, yeah. Hope everyone's well today anyway. Share this out if you can. But yeah. I don't know, just there's not really much incentive for anyone to even bother working in the first place these days. Like, most people probably wouldn't even be much better off financially if they work a 40-hour week job or something. If you do the maths on it, right, because if you're on, say, like minimum wage or whatever, and you're like, just to do like and even if you're on a little bit over minimum wage, but then some of that's going to get taxed, sort of thing. So there's not really much incentive for a lot of people to even bother. So is there any surprise that so many people are just taking advantage of the system, you know? Can you really blame them? Because, like, let's say you're on, I don't know, 25,000 a year or whatever. That's probably what, like, almost like about the minimum wage or whatever nowadays. Let's say you're on 25,000 a year and you're on, like, you know what I mean? It's like, for a lot of people, they're probably spending nearly half of that on rent or a mortgage or whatever, and then another quarter of that probably on food and drinks and stuff like that. It's like, whereas if you get like benefits, then it's like you get all the basics and stuff. You get your house paid for, you get your food paid, you get like an allowance or whatever. So like, it's not really giving people much of an incentive to want to work, is it? And some might say, oh, but it's more about the social aspect of it or whatever crap. But nowadays, a lot of people wouldn't even want to bother with that anyway. No, I'm English, Karen, what about you? There's people who are making more than 25k. Well, that's near Manchester, isn't it? I mean, it's more expensive to live in some of those places, isn't it? So, it depends where you live, really. Yeah, I mean, but obviously, the more you make, then generally the lifestyle inflation happens then. And you look at London, like nearly half of their wages just wiped instantly just by living, like their cost of, like renting. I mean, it's crazy. But they all went to uni, probably, yeah. I mean, Helmston's like, yeah, it's just down from Manchester, isn't it? Yeah, kind of going towards Warrington. Yeah, it's, there'll be a lot of like, people, kind of in these, I bet it's probably like double the cost than you would have, say, like in a cheap area. Yeah, you don't live here, alright. Joshua says doctors and engineers. Yeah. So those are like kind of your outliers, really. If we're talking like just I think your average person's on about, if I remember, it's something like 30-something thousand. But then it's like, your actual take-home money is probably less than 30k or something like that. It's like, you end up with quite a bit, once you factor in things like council tax, income tax, and other taxes that are like necessary, like your national insurance contributions. Are you painting a house? Oh, cool. Are you painting it? Like, what colours and stuff? All right. So like some people might not even be on much more than 25,000 once you actually take off the that. But then if you're on minimum wage, then the actual take home pay is probably just over 20k. So whereas if you're on benefits, then you don't have to deal with like the taxes, then you're probably not really that much better off. Whereas if they're actually not tax the poor earners, then they could at least find it easier to work their way up the ladder. And maybe they need to focus on trying to tax the rich more. But then some say, oh, but they'll just leave. But then I think that's just a load of BS if they they're just kind of trying to fearmonger and just so then people just accept it. oh, we need to, oh, if we try to, sort out the loopholes, they'll just kind of move to Dubai or whatever. It's like, well, there is ways that could be dealt with, like, for example, I think like exit tax or something like that, that we should have some kind of like way of, still taxing them even if they leave. So if they want to go to Dubai, that they still have to pay tax to this country or something. Oh, Hessian, alright. It works out about even on benefits of working for working class people. So why work 5 days a week for the same living standard? Yeah, exactly. It depends on like each individual, of course, but it's like, yeah, just there's some might say, oh, but you'll get this, the socializing, you'll get life experience, you'll learn all these different things. I mean, but for a lot of people, they don't even want to be in these environments with just like toxic people. A lot of cases, it really depends. Obviously, some people are really blessed and they have a great environment, supportive people and stuff like that, but it isn't always the case. You might end up feeling trapped. You might feel like, because if you then try to leave your job, then then you're like, then it's like, what are you going to do then? This is why younger people see it as bleak. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it depends really on your situation, really, but I mean, like, it really depends, I guess, but they do make people like, they'll make some people sort of go through some hoops or whatever, like going to job centres and things, but a lot of time nowadays, people can just some people can just play on mental health, whether it's genuine or not, but because it's hard to really prove a lot of things, isn't it, Like someone could just say they've got, or they could just say they've got fibromyalgia, because you can't prove that someone's got fibromyalgia, can you really? Now there is some people that I think genuinely have it, but like, my mum says she has it, but it's just like you could just easily use that as some excuse, I think, because if it's something that cannot be easily diagnosed, then you could just get some sick pay or something. Like you could just make out like you're going crazy or something, and you could just say you're not fit for work or something. I don't know. There's ways that people do it, I was a raging alcoholic, though they never bothered me, just gave me 350 quid a month. Is that just for like, so they must give you like a place to live on top or something? Is that just for like food and stuff? They just give you that for like food and whatever else, like accessories and things like that you need for your house and stuff, but because there'll be like kind of different benefits and stuff, like there'll be housing benefits, there'll be and then there'll be like kind of food allowances or whatever you call it, like this man said people can fiddle the system, so working people get frustrated and opt for the easy option of not working, allow us to break even with Janice who does nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, almost like they assumed I'd be like that forever. Yeah, there's some people that can learn to kind of be like a chameleon and just kind of, but yeah, you just have to kind of, you'd have to be careful, because some people will try and claim they've got some disabilities, they'll pretend to be in a wheelchair or something, and then, you could get caught out or something, and so is that something you'd really want to be doing, to try and fake that sort of stuff? But there is some people who will kind of like, play on mental health or something like that. I'll never own a home unless I win lottery. Yeah, it's it's not going to happen, really, is it? I mean, what is it, 1 in millions, chance? But that's the thing these days. at least back in the day, you know, you would work hard, you would, you know, be able to save up for a deposit and stuff. Personally, I hated it. I wanted to get as far from that system as possible, but I know people who are fine with it. Yeah, it's just people are afraid to, you know, to go against the status quo, aren't they, and just kind of to, you know, kind of consider an alternative way of life and whatever, that maybe not everyone's supposed to be working long hours and stuff. And some people might say, oh, but it's only that many hours, 9 to 5, whatever, but it's like, you know, compounded over many years, it is a lot of time. It's a lot of time that people would sacrifice out of their own life. And it's fine if you're doing something that's giving you purpose and benefiting society, but oftentimes it's just lying in the pockets of corporations, you know. Like, a lot of people want to try and kind of gloat about that they work and they are contributing, but when you actually look into it all and what they're actually contributing, and then you can say, oh, well, they're contributing taxes and whatever, but then it goes back to the thing of, where is this tax money going to? A lot of it isn't actually serving people, it's just serving the interest of the government and corporate interests as well. So you get all these kind of like virtue signalers who are like, you know, looking down on people that choose to not take part in the system. But, you know, the thing is, right, you'll get these people who will be like totally fine with, say, Elon Musk getting, you know, these, you know, kind of like, what is it, handouts from the state. You know, that's okay apparently. You know, they're taking billions off the fucking state or something. So you look into like a lot of these like billionaires and stuff, and it's like, why is that okay? Oh, because it's legal, they'll probably say. So they're basically just a bunch of authoritarians that just believe that, you know, we should just kind of, you know, not question authority, and we should just kind of bow down to it. Or these people deserve to get benefits because they are doing something good for society, because they are, you know, innovating or whatever, but what they're doing is widening the inequality. So, I mean, now some people might argue, but it's like, oh, but, you know, they are, you know, investing in like new research, investing in, you know, kind of new technologies, and that could be of benefit to society or whatever. But it's just furthering the monopolies on these things. It's just like, you know, that I think the government's been partly responsible for creating monopolies, and sort of by, you know, having laws that benefit them, like having, you know, giving them like tax returns and all these different things. So it's like, you know, it's like one rule for you, one rule for different rule for them kind of thing. It's just, it's not okay for you to do it, but it's okay for them to do it. You know? Anyway, who's still in here? Thank you for the 8 likes, everyone. But it's just this, like, you know, misappropriation of taxpayer money, like where it's being sent to, like, you know, abroad in some cases to fight wars, instead of dealing with the people that need to be sorted out. Now, yeah, there ain't some of the homeless people, to be fair, are kind of just scumbags, you know? Because, like, there was this one that's just kind of like lying around a certain spot all the time, and it's just kind of gross, you know? At least, like, kind of just move on during the day or something. It's like, I don't understand, like, why they have to kind of stay there, I don't know, in that spot. It just kind of brings down the vibe, you know, when you're seeing all these kind of, it might make me sound snobby or whatever, I don't care, it's just, I don't want to be seeing these people on the streets all the time, it's just, you know, but, you know, if they need to sleep rough or whatever, but it's like, a lot of them are just on the street all day and just kind of loitering the streets, so it's like, and some of them are, you know, some of them are not even like, you know, either they're not homeless. I mean, some of them, yeah, obviously they are homeless, but then that they are not really kind of, you know, it's like if you was to give them money, then that likely might just buy drugs with it or something. And but there is real homeless people that it's like they're the ones that actually need help, but they're probably not the types to just keep begging though, because usually the ones that are begging non-stop are the ones that have drug addictions and stuff like that. So we need to not be, you know, kind of enabling more of that behaviour and stuff. Some might say that one way to know if they're actually genuine is instead of offering them money to offer them food or something. That way you'll know if actually they're just trying to just get drugs or something. Anyway, just refresh this a sec. So yeah, what were we saying there? Just been missing some chat. Yeah, I hope everyone's well. Yeah, that's what it is. A lot of them are meaningless. I think people have found that something like almost half of the jobs, they feel like they don't serve any actual purpose. Because one of the things that's important in life is to feel a sense of purpose. That's part of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. You know, is the work that you do, does it actually feel like you are actually kind of part of something greater than yourself? There's nothing to boast about working now in the UK. We do it because we have to, but we are laughed at for it. We aren't working for ourselves to build something for ourselves. We are funding the rich. Yeah, it's just like you know, you're people putting their energy into something to build someone else's empire and then get breadcrumbs for it. No, you offer then. Yeah, I suppose that could be like, but then you would have to get the drugs in the first place. Then I'm like, well, some might argue that isn't right to even get them in the first place. But I don't know. Or you mean you just like offer them, then you don't even have them. You just kind of bluffing kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, the scary thing is kids are the greatest achievement many people will have nowadays, but can't afford them. Then it's the world you are bringing them into. What future they have that worries me. Yeah, because it's like, on one hand, it's like I want to bring kids into the world, but on the other hand, it's like bringing them into more and more corruption. And at least back in the day, it was like, you know, with the nuclear family and everything was a lot more ideal. You know, like back when, you know, like a family could like live off just one income back then, you know. Times have changed, you know. So it just destroys the family unit. Both parents nowadays pretty much have to work full time to look after the family and stuff. So I can understand some of the points of like the anti-natalist, but it's like at the same time I think it's about responsibility and actually kind of sort of like, you know, kind of, what is it, you know, kind of is be mindful of like what you're getting your kids into, like say, you know, limiting social media, things like that, you know, kind of setting a good example for them. And things like that, just kind of growing them up with like kind of learning life skills, things like that, limiting their exposure to degenerate shit that's gonna poison their minds when they're an impressionable age, that kind of stuff. We had to go through Parliament to agree what a woman is defined as. Yeah, it's crazy. But because like, well, they've changed things up now to be something else, but it's like you know, there's XX and XY chromosomes. You know, that's man and woman. It's like a man has XY chromosomes, a woman has XX chromosomes, and yeah, you can do certain things to try and kind of like alter certain, you know, like you know, sexual traits or whatever, you know, but it's like at the same time it's like you just kind of trying to play God in sort of, not religious person by the way, but then like you're trying to, you know, cheat your own body basically. You know, it's like you're kind of just gaslighting yourself. And obviously there's some people that have real issues with like body dysmorphia and stuff, but a lot of the time they could be resolved through different therapies and things that I think most of them the time actually can be resolved, but there are certain times where, you know, it just isn't going to happen, but it's like, but they need to go through a rigorous process of assessing the person, and you know, because maybe they'll grow out of it kind of thing, and we don't know. Some either grow out of it, or maybe through certain interventions they can grow out of it. Sometimes it can be things like childhood traumas that can actually lead to these kinds of things. And we have to look into these things and, you know, what kind of upbringing they have and stuff like that. What kind of mental conditions they might have that may influence their thinking, because are they actually able to make these decisions? You know, because they might not understand fully the consequences of it. Again, you said you're not religious, yet the UK is having a policing problem over disagreements with other religions. That's scary, so all ideas should be able to be questioned and challenged. Yeah. I mean, I think we can take some positives from some religions, like things like Ten Commandments, things like that. You know, we can take certain grains of truth, but that doesn't mean we have to kind of follow a religion to a T or anything. It's just, but I think it's more about it giving people like a moral compass, you could say. Now, some might argue you shouldn't need to have a religion to do that to you, but some might say that without religion there would just be more kind of immorality and stuff like that. So maybe you could argue it could be good in that sense, that if people feel like there's a God looking down on them, then maybe they'll be a bit more kind of thoughtful. The UK is really is finished. Can I ask you, if you had the chance to move from the UK with the status and now, would you take it? Just wondering, or do you believe we can still change the course UK's on? I mean, I've thought about it. I thought about just kind of, it's, you know, be more sunny there, more nicer weather generally, but I've been thinking about like the quality of life. In some ways, I'm not sure I would really be up for that. I don't know, because like, as I probably could just go and, you know, do that if I really wanted to, but I was thinking about all these creepy crawly kind of creatures. There's things about it, that some of these countries, that we need to really kind of fully look into. I just got a tickle in my throat. It's just, yeah. But yeah, I just think that yeah, so the UK is just doing, but then you could argue all these other countries are just going to follow as well. Inflation's going to hit there as well, but you could say, well, it's just because of the arbitrage or something like that. So, I mean, is quality of life. I genuinely feel like a slave to the UK lately. I could live in a wooden shack somewhere else, less diverse. Yeah. I mean, I think like diversity is good and all that. It's just as long as people are respectful of other people's values and stuff, you know. But I think the problem is when cultures clash and stuff, and that can unfortunately lead to you know, kind of dissonance, I guess you could call it. It can lead to, you know, what we have now with like with immigrants and all this kind of, because they have different things like where they don't believe in like, you know, age of consent and things like that. A lot of them, you know. Now they'll probably try and make the excuse that, oh, well, we didn't know that, you know, there was an age of consent here or something. So it's like, well, can they really be just that ignorant or something? I mean, and even if they are ignorant to that, it's just like, well, I shouldn't keep like opening the floodgates to these, should we? You know, you look at the uptick in crime, you know, and they are responsible a lot for that, and it's not about being racist. It's just we need a better vetting process, you know. But then you're called racist for saying that. It's just people are called racist for caring about, you know, kind of vulnerable people and stuff. So insane things have got. I believe we as a country are looking out for too many other interests rather than our own. It's not racist to want to keep our heritage and our beliefs as lows. Yeah, I think at a certain time, like, diversity is good. In some ways, I guess it's like the whole thing of variety is the spice of life. I guess it depends on the context in terms of like diversity of kind of like in terms of personal expression and stuff like that. Individual kind of, you know, so not everyone's going to agree on everything. That's fine, but maybe there needs to be certain kind of principles that we all need to kind of share, like a kind of glue that binds us all together. But while we can have like our own ideas on things, and we can have all of our own interests, and it would be boring if we were all the same. So yeah, but when it comes to like the laws and stuff, it's like we all need to agree that okay, certain things are wrong, like murder is wrong, or like say like the Ten Commandments, things like that. It's like, you know, it was like, you know, sort of abusing people is wrong. It's like, you know, things like that. It's just surely we should all be able to agree on that. But unfortunately, certain people are, you know, kind of like they don't have any sort of concept of that. They're very backwards in that sense. Diversity only works with integration. The problem is a lot of the people coming over don't believe in our values, and we pay the price for it, or we are racist. It's not racist to want to protect women and minorities. Yeah, that's it, you know. It's just kind of ironic because a lot of these leftists who are all about kind of feminism and supporting women's rights, but yet they're okay with just letting unvetted migration in that's actually harming women. You know, that it's ironic, that, isn't it? It's like I can't take any of like the politics stuff seriously because of things like that, because
it's like the right wing can be quite hypocritical as well at times, I think, where it's like, where, you know, that they kind of supposedly are about something, but then they're not. It's like, for example, when we had like the Tories in, and they'll say they're, you know, they make out that they're conservative or whatever, but then what are they actually conserving other than just the wealth of the wealthy, you know? Because to me, like, true conservatism will be more about putting family unit over profits. Because, like, we're talking about how people are struggling to even have a family nowadays. So if we're trying to, like, encourage more people to start families, then we shouldn't be having all these taxes on low earners and stuff like that. Because that's actually against creating families, you know? What do you make of the crowds? Did the media lie when they say it was 150,000? Probably. Like, they lie all the time, so I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it's like with the lockdown process where I think they were downplaying that a lot of the time. I remember there was one where I think the BBC kind of purposefully, I think there was this reporter for BBC who just purposefully took a shot of like where it was like a thinned out bit of it that didn't look very impressive. But they were pretty much just a blackout in general for like those protests, which is interesting because, you know, you would have thought it would have been all over the media, right? All over mainstream media, because there were such big events. So it's as though they didn't want to report on it, which makes it more suspicious. Why would you not report on that? They're supposed to be like, you know, journalists and what have you, you know? But yeah, they're just gonna it's just tickly throat at the moment, I don't know. Just the end of this cold thing that I've got. Yeah, I wasn't feeling too well last couple of days, really. I think I've been pushing myself too hard with the workouts and stuff, and I've just weakened my immune system. So I'm not normally like, I don't normally kind of get much of anything really, but yeah, they couldn't claim all of them were far right. Yeah, because then they would be basically making out that, you know, like 1 million people are far right, which would just be kind of like crazy, you know. Yeah, done a few laps today. My mate Orvie had done that. Yeah, ceiling. I just kind of was holding my phone and yeah. Yeah, it's just yeah, because you can't have like millions of people far right, really, can you? I mean, there might be maybe like 1,000 or maybe 10,000 or so, but like legitimately far right. Like, a lot of them are just right of centre. They're just kind of, you know, like somewhat on the right wing, and some of them might even be left wing, you know. Like, some of them are just ordinary, you know, left wing people who are just, because a lot of like the old Labour people were actually, you know, not very much agreeing with the whole kind of immigration stuff, or at least the mass immigration. Being good chatting with you, man. Good to know a lot more people in the UK are similar thinkers. Yeah. It's I think the concern is that they could take over with like the demographic replacement, which people say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. I mean, is it though? Like, you look at the percentage now, and then you look at the projected percentages, we have to be careful what we're saying here. Vote, we say. I mean, I wouldn't even vote for any of them, because I just don't believe that any of them represent me. So I'm like, it feels like you don't really have much choice, and then I'm like, what I actually believe in is a more like decentralized system, where it's run by the people, which might sound socialist or whatever, I don't care, but I just think that we shouldn't be kind of like having all this authoritarianism, and yeah, we could have like councils, things like that. And hi Lorica, how you doing? Hope you're well. Not a conspiracy. What's not a conspiracy? Well, it's like when people say, oh, it's not a conspiracy, but then it's like, but then it is. It's like when people a lot of time will say, like, for example, it's like, I'm trying to think of an example, but it's like, a conspiracy is when two or more people commit a crime. That is a conspiracy by dictionary definition. It's not a theory, it's real, and it's not racist to point out facts. Piers Morgan was told that this stat about replacement, his response was, so what? Yeah, I saw that, yeah. Yeah, because he was talking with, wasn't it, Tucker Carlson. And there's been all this divide with all that, I've seen, like, with because you've got, like, say, the whole kind of rift between, kind of like, you've got your Ben Shapiro's and stuff. To me, Ben Shapiro's just another establishment shill type of guy. He's just, like, he doesn't kind of like his response to like the cost of living crisis is people move to a different place. So he's expecting people to just move from where they've grown up, around the people that know and stuff. You have to just move elsewhere because you can't afford it. Because the cost of living's gotten so much that it's like people can't afford to live into these places with high rent prices and stuff like that. So if that's the case, the UK will no longer be the UK. It will, by definition, be replaced. Yeah, because it'll be like it could be called like the Republic of, like the Republic of whatever. I mean, yeah, it won't be the UK anymore, because the United Kingdom is like it's basically a monarchist state, isn't it? But to be fair, I'm not really into the whole kind of monarchy and stuff like that. I mean, I think it's very dated and very much outstayed its welcome. You get people with mixed opinions on that stuff, but yeah, I was going to talk about the whole Tucker Carlson thing and him questioning why is it that we're sending all this money to like, well, it's in America, they're sending money to like Israel or something. And it's like, because the thing is, he's got vested interest because his wife is Israeli apparently, and this Ben Shapiro. So you can't trust anyone when they've got vested interests like that. You know, they're just kind of so deep in the system, it's like they're not gonna, challenge it basically. Because, that's the system that's propped them up, That's the thing, they've propped up this, Israel state, but then it's like, people say, oh, it's anti-Semitic. What are you even talking about? It's like, you're just kind of, people will say like, they throw out these words like anti-Semitic. It's like I was saying earlier about words like fascism, communism. A lot of times people don't even understand what these words even mean. What is a Semite? Because as soon as you ask them that, it exposes how ignorant they are. When they're like, Because by definition, a Semite can also be a Palestinian, you know? And you could argue, well, they're not Jews or whatever, and it's like, well, but a Semite is not a religion or culture. It's just most Semites are Arabs. So yeah, relatively speaking, Israel is quite a small country, and it's like, but yet they've got so much influence over the media and things like banks and all sorts of stuff, you know. So I think people are right to criticise these things, you know, but they'll just get labelled as anti-Semitic. It's like on Coronation Street, there was actually a bit where someone was talking about like Rothschilds and all that, like a kind of like, you know, painted him as like a conspiracy theorist, and then this woman then went and told somebody else about it and said, oh, let's you know, talk about the banks and Rothschilds and all that. That's a classic anti-Semitic trope. So it seems to be like social conditioning, you could call it, like to, you know, to have anything about, you know, against the status quo about the banks and stuff, that's anti-Semitic. It's very convenient, isn't it? You know, I'm British. Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, make sure you give me make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I shouldn't have to say that because it does say on the screen. But the word anti-Semitic doesn't even mean what they're kind of implying it does. It's just a bunch of gaslighting and, yeah. I mean, I'm not to say that, you know, that Jews are inherently bad. I'm just saying that we should question why a certain demographic of people has so much influence over media and etc., which is a bit of a concern, because then they would put out a certain narrative that would be more in their best interests. You know, it's not about being anti-Semitic, it's about having, you know, kind of more balance with things. So yeah, so I don't know what you guys think, but obviously most of the Jews are actually, you know, quite sound and whatever. You know, there's nothing wrong with most of them, just like any other people. Yeah, thank you for subscribing. So, like, yes, like I said, you know, it's not about, you know, throwing the whole ethnicity under the bus. It's about, we look at patterns, you know, we look at these things, and it's like, we question things like, why are we sending Israel so much money? Like, why are we, you know, well, I don't know if the UK does it, but I know America is very much invested in that, and you could just have a bunch of like propaganda that would be, you know, kind of trying to smear any criticism as being anti-Semitic. That's the concern, really, that people have. Like when you look at the influence that Israel has on a lot of those media stations and stuff. So anyway, who's still in here then? But then what they're trying to do is kind of, so you got like Ben Shapiro saying, oh, actually they're, you know, like people like Tucker Carlson is like a, I don't know, you know, Tucker Carlson could just be some kind of shill as well, but he has had some kind of interesting guests on, I think, because since he's come off Fox News, it's probably good that he's able to kind of, you know, speak more freely about other kind of issues and stuff like that. Like, he had someone on about 9/11, and there's a lot of shit about 9/11 that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's a whole rabbit hole with that, like with Building 7 and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone's seen about all that stuff, but a lot of people are saying that it just doesn't make any sense. Like, how can it just doesn't look right? Because, you know, how is it that debris hitting Building 7 can cause Building 7 to just fall at free fall speed? Like, it just doesn't seem right, because when it impacts the building and then it can weaken the structure on one side, you would expect that it would topple over. At least I would expect that. But yeah, it fell at free fall speed vertically. It just, like for example, if I take something out of a Jenga tower or something like that, it would just topple over or something. I don't know. That's kind of what it would probably end up doing. Something like that. It would just kind of fall over to one side. I would have thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's going to hit one side of it first, right? And it's going to weaken that side and then it's going to slowly kind of. It looks like it was a controlled demolition, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I do like just kind of a lot of live streams and stuff. But I do get some like shorts out and stuff, some videos sometimes as well. That's that. Oh yeah, that was like the one of the things with 9/11. It was just there's just so many things that are really quite questionable about it, to say the least. There was the whole kind of $2.3 trillion that went unaccounted for in the Pentagon. I think it was in it a day earlier or something like that. I could be wrong, but I don't know if those figures have been exaggerated or whatever, but I remember there was a lot of money that was unaccounted for in the Pentagon. And then, so they blew up the Pentagon building, didn't they? And, like on that same day, I think. So it almost seemed like a kind of part of the plan was to do that. Maybe it was to destroy the evidence or something. I don't know. Because there was apparently a lot of money that was kind of like stolen potentially. Yeah, bikes. I mean, I used to go on a bike a lot. I haven't been on a bike for a while really, but just haven't really got around to it. Yeah. Well, that's quite, you don't think it's strange? Every religious group seems to be protected while having crazy views, yet Christians, the most peaceful in today's age, get so much flack. Yeah, I get that. But, like I say, I'm not a religious person, so I'm like kind of... And even some of the Christians can get quite militant. But, yeah, I just feel like religions... Like I said, there's some good things that you could take from it, like moral and ethical principles and things like that, but the whole God stuff is a bit, I can't fully get on board with it. A couple of years ago, the left were cancelling things during the BLM riots, and now the right are getting people fired from work places, and talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel got cancelled. That's the thing of like, cancel culture from the right, like how you've got, you had like Candace Owens getting cancelled because of her words on, people from a certain ethnicity. So now, a lot of people don't like her and whatever and think she's, but it's like, she's got some views that are questionable, but it's like, should we be cancelling someone because of a view that they have? I think it comes down to the intention of the person. Do they actually, kind of, if that's what they really believe, then, Whereas nobody really challenges, Well, there's people going about like the Palestine protests, how oftentimes there's violence going on with that, more so than immigration protests, but yet less arrests happen. So some say there's a two-tier policing going on. So it's like, it's not really fair, is it? So it seems like they just want everyone distracted with Palestine and kind of focusing on that because it's something that's, kind of doesn't really affect British people, does it? You take care. I'll see you later, Lorica. So it doesn't really affect everyday British people, I don't think, does it? But I was talking the other day, it seems as though the whole kind of Israel versus Palestine is like a controlled opposition. That might sound quite a conspiracy theory, but they were talking the other day about how, they need a villain, like that Israel needs a villain, is kind of like how it seems, that they would prop up Palestine as being this kind of what's the word, like antagonist or something, I think you would call it. And kind of like, or if you're on the Palestine side, that Israel would be the antagonist. So it would be like a way of, like the whole kind of divide and rule kind of thing. My granddad served in the British Army in World War II. He was sent to Palestine. It directly affects British people. Don't be daft. I've got pictures of my granddad on Gaza Beach. He's Scottish. So, I don't know, it's just, is it going to affect British people as much as, say, like, unvetted immigration, where we've got people coming in here who are, you know, like, have no regard for the laws here, for example? Is it going to, relatively speaking, is it going to be as affecting of British people? I don't know. Like, yeah, I hope everyone's doing well anyway. Though we're focused so much on, like, you know, whatever's going on in Palestine, but then it just seems as though, like, by giving it energy, you're just perpetuating the kind of narrative of the kind of us versus them sort of thing. What the elites don't want is us all to come together, you know? They want everyone divided, is what it seems that. It's like, to me, like, they could all just be like, you know, pulling all those strings and just kind of have you just kind of wasting your time just protesting to then just kind of not really, you know, bring about any sort of real changes here. But I don't know, it's just, so how exactly would it affect British people, as in, like, everyday British people who are, you know, dealing with the whole Palestine thing going to help either financial situation, or is it going to help, you know, sort of, laws here, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's like they want everyone to just be putting their energy into things that are relatively just not going to serve our interests. And you could say, well, a lot of them are Muslims who are, they have kind of like vested interests in that, because, so, but there's a lot of people that are not religiously affiliated at all that go to these things, and, you know, is it really kind of doing much for our people? Because it comes down to, like, sort of going back to the whole thing of putting our own interests first. If we put all of our time into, like, you know, our own interests first, then we can start to actually look out for others, look out for people in other countries once we've got, you know, a solid foundation. Because Rochelle, I mean, I'm not against any religion, as long as people, you know, practice it in a way that isn't harming anybody else. That's why me and you have no money, for this exact reason. What do you mean? Creating peace and not funding genocidal states helps us. A more peaceful world with less refugees, less money for war. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems that there's some kind of bias in terms of, like, you know, there's a lot of, like, conflict going on apparently in these Palestine protests, yet very few arrests happen. Whereas if it's a lockdown protest or a immigration protest, then a lot more arrests tend to happen. So it's, like I said, there's this kind of two-tier policing, and I'm questioning, why is that happening? You know, there's got to be a reason, right? If there's less violence, relatively speaking, but yet more arrests happening, then why that? It's like, for example, with BLM, wasn't there, like, relatively not that many arrests happening? It was just kind of allowed to happen a lot of the time, I think. Go up, what's that? Oh yeah, and about the whole kind of thing of, you know, just kind of everyone just kind of being distracted with issues that generally don't directly affect us. And I agree with like peace and stuff like that, but I just feel like none of it's actually going to be resolved by. You could say, well, immigration protests aren't going to help that either, but I think it would actually show that there's solidarity. But the thing is, the media is trying to kind of downplay it. I think we were talking about earlier that, you know, the numbers don't seem accurate. Think about it. They spend our money funding Israel's war, then we take in the displaced people and pay for them when they arrive. So the cycle never ends. We pay for wars and the refugees made from them. Yeah, I think we should focus more on ending wars rather than it being about like a partisan kind of, because I think that's what they want is like that kind of partisan kind of picking a side. It's like with the whole Ukraine and Russia thing. I think that's what they want, is people to be picking a side, divide and conquer. You know, that's their whole kind of thing, isn't it? People who protest in support of this group are arrested. What a group arrested? Are you talking about Palestine? I don't know how true it is, but I just heard from different sources that you know, like relatively less people tend to get arrested than say at certain events, despite lots of violence happening. Don't fund any wars until it's on our doorstep. Yeah, this is, like I said, is that I talked about the other day. Military should be really only defensive and not offensive. It shouldn't be trying to add fuel to the fire. It should probably be trying to just defend ourselves from attacks and stuff. Yeah. Now, I hear some people's arguments, and some say, well, if we fund their wars, then therefore they... but I just see it as like, well, they're just adding to the dumpster fire of war, and it just perpetuates it, you know. I don't think it's really ever going to end until people as a collective just decide, why are we funding both these sides of war, like, you know, whether you're on Israel's side or whether you're on Palestine's side or whatever. Because that's the only time where this is all going to end, is that we just kind of, everyone just kind of says, enough's enough. Yeah. Instead of spending all this money on immigration, put the money into education and homegrown industries instead of importing everything. Yeah, exactly. Because it would probably be a lot better if we did that, because, yeah, we'd have probably like, yeah, a lot of it would be good quality. Yeah, it might be, actually, it wouldn't necessarily have to be super expensive. I mean, you could say, well, a lot of this stuff's made in China that's like really cheap, but that has to be imported, and there's costs of getting that to this country. So, well, it might be quite cheap, but then if we do things, you know, homegrown, whatever, then yeah, it might be somewhat more expensive to produce it, but then I don't know if the like overall cost would be higher still. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because I'm pretty sure that stuff coming from China is going to be adding to the cost somewhat, because of requires a lot of fuel and things to try and transport all these goods. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but oh yeah, where are you from? Yeah, I'm from there originally, but I live in York now. If the rich people in Western countries can get resources for all, then it's convenient to keep the countries from ever moving forward. What do you mean? You're talking about like things made in China, for example. Child slaves in the Congo mining cobalt for our phones, for example. Yeah, there is that, isn't there? Unfortunately, that's the sad reality of that, and how long is that going to go on for? I could hear it in your accent, mate. I'm Darwin. No wonder we are quite like-minded. Yeah, because it's probably because of like the area that I was living in was predominantly Asian actually. So I've seen like different sides of it. Some are, you know, respectful, and like, I had some next door that were decent. But on the other side, they seemed quite kind of closed off in a sense of like they're kind of just like, it's like, you know, they're kind of be cliquey to their own tribe sort of thing. I don't know who that is. Patrice Lumumba. All right. But yeah, that's the. But oftentimes the streets can be quite, you know, sort of not very clean and stuff. I remember watching a video and some guy was saying, you know, with all the trash everywhere and stuff, that, oh, you know, it's about us trying to make a difference in our community. But it's like, if someone leaves trash on the floor, why is it my responsibility to pick that up? You know? Why should I have to fuck around trying to do that, you know? No, it's this kind of ideal thing where everyone did it. Well, not everyone's going to do that, but it's not your responsibility to, like, you know, to tip someone else's trash and, you know, whatever. First leader of the Congo after they got independence from Belgium, who were absolutely brutal. Now the Congo is effed. Alright. Yeah. I remember there's a thing called the Congo Basin, which is the second biggest rainforest in the world. Like, I would have thought like somewhere like that could be quite well off or something with like, they've got rainforests and stuff, they could probably produce quite a lot of food and stuff. I would have thought, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure rainforests are good, like tropical places to grow lots of fruit. You missed the, but where I said he was killed by the CIA. Yeah, it's like, was it Gaddafi and all these people like Saddam Hussein, like, I reckon these people were just kind of offed, you know? Like Gaddafi was like, wasn't there it something to do with, is it diamonds or something like that, like that he was, yeah, was it might have been gold, whatever it was, some kind of precious material, I remember. He had, yeah, it was just, he was like, kind of like, you know, I don't know. Going back to Coronation Street for a minute, they had a character who was holding a climate change protest, which gets out of control. Then as the pilot progresses, he becomes a straight-up nationalist. Oh, really? So it's just, again, more social conditioning of the kind of like, you go from one extreme to the other kind of thing. Oh, they're against that, so therefore they're, yeah. Oh, it's a rival the dollar. Oh, yeah. Oh, was it? Oh, it was a currency. Yeah, because it probably could have, like, been great for them, but yeah, they have a very fucked up, like, system where it's like, yeah, there's literally, like, I think in Nigeria you've got billionaires now, you know? Like, the wealth inequality is crazy. Like, how can they have a billionaire, but yet have so many people, like, that are below the poverty line? It's, you could say it's like that here as well with billionaires, and then you got people on the streets and stuff, so, and it's just in the world in general, it's just, it's inequalities that people don't like, because it's not that inequality in and of itself is bad. In fact, it's kind of necessary to some degree. It's like necessary to some degree to have inequality, because, so I was talking the other day about having, say, like, individual ownership, having, basically, having, say, like, businesses owned by corporations or whatever, or just individuals. and then they would have people working for them or whatever, and like, and yeah, they shouldn't probably get as much money because they're not the ones that started it, you know. The person who was the idea that they started it all up, they should be the one to get the most money because they took on the risk, they invested time, money, whatever into it. So therefore, they should get most of the money. Yeah. Hi Vic, how you doing? Hope you're well today. Gaddafi was actually a revolutionary, even though he was a bit mad. You could say that about like Guy Fawkes or something, and like I was talking about this, like how, you know, people are celebrating his kind of like. No, I'm not a supporter of like what he was planning to do, like the gunpowder plot. But to me, it's just kind of like, it's conditioning people to be like, if you go against the state, then you're going to be punished or worse, even executed. The states of California and NY carry the other 48 states. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because you've got like LA and stuff like that, San Francisco and California, then you've got New York City, and you know, that's yeah, it's where all the economic activity. Obviously in LA you've got like, say, like Hollywood. Is Hollywood technically like well, it's part of the greater Los Angeles area, but yeah, all around there you've got like kind of yeah, a lot of that's carrying America, isn't it? Fourth largest economy in the world, California. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, you've got like Silicon Valley and all that, haven't you? Yeah. Alright guys, I just need to go to the toilet real quick. Yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Don't go anywhere. Looks like we've gone there. Same, thank you, all of the UK. What's that? Sorry. So I want to talk a bit about, you know, the whole kind of pollution thing, right? Well, you know, like the UK, they say, oh, UK doesn't cause a lot of the pollution. It's China mostly. But the truth is that the because the UK is outsourcing a lot of their, you know, kind of pollution, so then they can just make out like they're clean, but they're not. a lot of this pollution wouldn't even happen if it wasn't for the UK, just like, you know what I mean? Same with America as well, you know? It's like so many stuff's made in China, so it's like, but, you know, if we didn't actually buy all that stuff, then obviously it's easier said than done, but the point is that, yeah, that, if we had sort of like our own produce, then yeah, maybe there would be less pollution potentially. Newsom, I've heard that he wasn't very good or something. I don't think any of them are good, to be honest, but wasn't he quite strict with like the lockdowns and stuff? Or something like, I mean, almost all of them were, apart from a few states. I genuinely think Trump is great because he's not a typical politician. He's unashamed to do or say what he believes is best. So I don't think he's really great, to be honest, because look what's happened, you know, all the bullshit, like the tariffs and stuff, and like, I don't know. It seems like suddenly everyone's kind of supporting Trump again because you've got the whole BBC thing, you know? It all just seems like more distractions. It's like, oh, BBC was like trying to smear him and all this kind of stuff, and he's filed a lawsuit against them or whatever, but wasn't he doing some dodgy shit, you know? He's against the script, Trump, but I mean, I don't really care. It's like, if you look at what he's been responsible for, it's like, I don't really think that much good has come from him, just like any of them, really. Talk about making America great again. Well, what are you talking about? All that's happened is more divisions happened and caused a bunch of chaos. You know? It was bad enough before all that, but then it's just his actually gets shown to you because they want to bring him down. I mean, but like, I don't know, like he says some quite crazy stuff sometimes that just is just not true. Like a lot of them do, you know, it's just yeah. Dismantled critical institutions, what do you mean? It's like there was this whole kind of thing where Trump was like about draining the swamp and all this kind of crap. He supposedly was going to get people arrested, that we were supposedly going to get Hillary Clinton arrested or whatever. But they were probably secretly having parties with each other while all that stuff was going on, you know? Like, who knows what's going on, but it's like, they want you to think they're all fighting against each other, but then, are they though? Who's next party to take the UK next election? Well, some people say that Reform might win, but again, I just think it's just another way to kind of get distracted. And this is a theory, right? Now, someone was disagreeing with it on a message, but what if they're the media's trying to kind of discredit Farage, and it's like a kind of reverse psychology kind of tactic, because they know that most people do not trust the media anymore. So, let's say if the media was actually, you know, I don't know, like supporting Farage, then maybe they would actually go against that, because people have lost trust in the mainstream media. Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, EPA, cut healthcare to people and criminalise homelessness. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we should be trying to actually, like, sort out so where no one needs to be homeless in the first fucking place, you know? It's like, it's not good enough to, like, decriminalise homelessness. We should be, you know, we should have affordable housing and stuff. Like we were talking about the other day, we should have modular homes and stuff like that. I think would be more innovative and more efficient materials and stuff. Because how much does it take to build a house?
very expensive. Not creating jobs. What's creating jobs? What's not creating jobs? But I remember like there were people saying, "Oh, we created so many million jobs," but then the thing is that it doesn't necessarily give you a full context, like how many jobs were actually lost in that time, and then how many of these jobs are not like permanent, or they might be like probation jobs, or they might be 0 hours contracts jobs, part-time jobs, etc., etc. You know, there's like, so you could throw out numbers and that without any context could be quite misleading. Created jobs for migrants not to work. Well, that's the thing with like the taxpayer money that's just being funneled to these people a lot of the cases. And some might say this is part of the reason why they're trying to hike tax up. You know, is that part of the reason why they're doing that? Why is it that they're trying to push the tax up? Hi Sherba, how you doing? I hope you're well. I'm PM tomorrow, and I honestly deport. Okay, whatever. He's not releasing the budget next month because they're stealing. Are you on about Keir Starmer or something, or you on about Trump? Hang on. Let's sit back down for a bit. Yes, yeah. I'm not sure whether I'm gonna go to the gym later. Potentially, I might do. Probably won't go too hard, but yeah. I've seen like I haven't seen that one. I've been seeing some stuff on like on that guy like Nick. I don't even say his name because you know what I mean. It's with all the censorship and stuff, but they've got to understand. Yeah, I was talking about like the what is it? Demographic replacement, and it's not about being racist. It's like, but like I was talking about with cultural differences and stuff. Because then when they bring kids into the world, then they're going to bring them up with their cultural sort of, you know what I mean? They're going to not bring them up with British traditions and things like that. So if they were to come and like integrate into the country, that would be fine, I think. But you should watch if you like the Tucker one with Piers. I've not really seen much of that. It was just kind of, I just saw bits of it. Because I don't really want to get too involved with that stuff, because it's, but yeah, but they're trying to smear him as, and it's like, yeah, maybe some of those people are just kind of not really trustworthy themselves, but it's like, they're going against the status quo. These Americans are doing more for UK problems than most natives because they can see what we can't. Yeah, I suppose we're quite close with each other in America and the UK, so like, what affects America can end up affecting us. The thing is, in America, at least they've still got a constitution, but we don't even have that, and we've never had that since the Magna Carta. Like, the Magna Carta is, I think, what the constitution was actually based off, if I remember. But yet, we lost all that. We lost not being replaced. What you mean? I'm talking about in terms of demographics and stuff, and like, well, it might not be the right word, but it's like, demographically being outcompeted or something. But I can get like, you know, semantics or whatever, but like by something like 2063, whatever it is, the estimated year. It's not about removing anybody, it's about more and more people coming in, more of these people birthing many children. Eventually that can end up leading to what would I say, Mother Nature. Well, but it's like, yeah, but also tribalism, I guess, is Mother Nature as well, and wanting to kind of look out for your own tribe. No, it's a shame really, but you know, we can't all integrate with each other, but
Did you see I was talking about this earlier about of these like immigrants that are like trying to use these white girls as bait, trying to be like, oh look, I can pull all these white birds, and like a way to try and advertise to more of them to come in, basically. And there's been this whole like scandal about that, basically, that got into some news or something about. The numbers are low, really.
How low? I mean, if we're talking about in the UK right now, like they're coming in every day, and like yeah. Westerns have been told for decades to have less children to save the climate, and now they do a rug pull. Yeah, a lot of people have just kind of bought into that whole kind of like antinatalism, whether that's for the environment or just because. I mean, like we're saying, it's hard for people to want to have kids anymore, just financially and stuff like that. But I just saw something about Tommy Robinson. I think he's just like a kind of, well, he's just a Zionist shill. I mean, he's a self-proclaimed Zionist, but I think he's just he just kind of cares about whatever is going to back him financially, really, isn't it? You know. There are two in the park that have just been put in juvie. What's juvie? Juvenile. Yeah. Aren't even kids yet. Again, we are paying. Yeah, I know. In the UK, it's different because you're the indigenous. Yeah, I suppose in America, it's like they're not actually the indigenous. But you could say, well, they've been there for many generations or something, and I don't know. It's mostly like things like Hispanics and stuff like that, and African Americans. But like, yeah, there's George Soros Open Society for one. Yeah, George Soros. I remember there was that whole kind of, yeah, like he's like kind of supposedly funded BLM, like Antifa, all that kind of stuff. Mexico was a country in 1521. All right. Yeah, so it's been a country longer than America then. Yeah. Hi JT. Oh God. It's like Phil McCracken, isn't it? There was one, wasn't there, like Ophelia McHawk? It was a prank thing that they did on a school board or something. Alex says diversity isn't a strength. Again, I think it depends on, like, sometimes certain diversities are good to. Oh yeah, hello Brian, how you doing? Yeah, I've heard a lot of these ones. Mike Hunt and Mike Roch. Sorry from what was that? America worked when it was diverse Europeans. Says, well, I mean, there's, like I said, if you're like from say Mexico or whatever other country that you're coming in and you're being respectful of their laws, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think we should be like tarring everybody with the same brush. Like I said, I think we just need a good vetting process when you're letting people in. I mean, they were talking about having like a points-based system or something. At first, I was like, because I was still quite, I guess, a bit more left-wing mentality on things, and because my whole kind of like argument, well, we should be trying to just send money abroad to so they don't need to kind of come here in the first place. But then that's not really practical, is it? We have enough of our own problems, really, But yeah, we should probably be trying to just focus on our own people first, and then once we've got enough, established kind of foundation of because right now in this country we don't have any sort of, the infrastructure's crumbled. Some might say, oh, it's still one of the best in the world, but compared to what things used to be, it's you could just see it as the best of a bad bunch sort of thing. Yeah, like we were talking about, classism is a big issue. Certain classes get preferential treatment and stuff. It's for example, when it comes to people getting lawyers and stuff like that, to back them up and stuff. Maybe it should be some kind of I don't know. Maybe you should just be given a lawyer not based on how much money you've got. It should just be everyone gets the equal kind of, people aren't equal somewhat. I mean, equal opportunities, but then again, that's not even possible either. Well, I remember there was this guy called, what is he called? What's his name? Talking about equity and how it's not possible. It was more like one of these Austrian economics. What was it called? Because I was looking into that a while ago. Laissez-faire economics, which basically is a deregulated system, which is primarily about private sector and not regulating it so much. What was it called? Thomas Sowell, I think it was called. And talking about equity and how it's a fallacy in it. Well, it's if we tried to have equity, then it would actually hold everyone else back, basically. I talked about this thing before of we need innovation, but then if we had total communism, I just don't think it's going to work for the reason of that no one's going to have any incentive to pioneer, basically. Because if you're just all getting equal money or whatever, actually I think they talk about not having money at all, but systemic racism. Yeah, I've heard about all that kind of stuff, yeah. But it's it depends on what area you live in. Obviously some of these areas, say, Detroit or Baltimore, I think Chicago, places like that are, they're just really poor places, and but there's also say in more well-off cities and stuff like that where they can also be quite prosperous. Depends really, but yeah, it will always boil down to tribalism. What works for your group doesn't work for mine or for Dave's, so they will never see eye to eye. Egalitarian is a pipe dream. I think there should be some degree of fairness, but we also have to accept that there's some people that have advantages and disadvantages and stuff, but we can't just completely kind of account for everything, because then let's say some people are born with disabilities, because for us all to become equal, then we'd all have to limit ourselves to being disabled then, basically, wouldn't we? I would have thought, if we want to be truly equal. Communist is a good idea on paper, but not in reality. Like I said, I just think it would lead to stagnation. I think we need a balance. Like I said, some healthy capitalism, and also I think some ideas of market socialism, and how, let's say, with I like the idea of having competitive markets, so we stuff like that, really. But yeah, which would be but also at the same time have some fairness for the workers that are working there, not getting exploited for minimum wages, that would actually get paid a share of that company potentially. So, like I said, I think that the owner should get paid the most, but Yeah, thank you, Shiba. So I think that would be more fair, where it's like, because I don't think we should have billionaires if we're going to have, say, people with nothing. But then I think we should be like wealthy people if it encourages people to become entrepreneurs and stuff. So we've got innovation in the world. They come up with new technologies and stuff, new inventions. Because who's going to have the incentive to do that? And then some people might still want to just do it for the sake of wanting to invent something new. But then I just think that people deserve to be paid more if it was their idea, if it's their idea to like. But I just think it would lead to probably less innovation in general if you have less of a incentive where it's like if we was to just have most of your money taken from you to like distribute to your workers or something, like I don't know. Better than BBC Question Time. Oh really? How you doing, Chris? Haven't noticed how Hispanics are being treated in America. I've heard that there's been some bad stuff. I mean, there's someone like called Alondra that comes to my lives and stuff, but yeah, it's not good. Like I said, as long as they're being respectful and they're respecting of their culture, then I don't see why people should be getting treated bad. Alex says, you're a good man, Jamie. Really enjoying this convo and your channel. Yeah, I'm trying to change the direction of the channel and kind of have a more focused topic and stuff. I don't mind immigration if you have ties there. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, if you're going to see your family and stuff like that and you want to live with them or something like that, yeah. I think, or if you say going to like become get into some kind of sector, like become a doctor or engineer, things like that, like software engineers, that they might be in high supply from some of these more developing countries, and it would help us and it would help them as well because they're, so it would be like a mutual benefit. Or if you want to migrate here, right? Yeah, as long as it's done legally and it's been, you go through all the kind of required sort of things, but the thing is that there seems to be a sort of like I said, two-tier policing going on and stuff. People overstaying, yeah. I think can be a problem really, but I mean, I don't want to like kind of be like kind of bigoted or anything like that, and think that all of it's bad and none of them should come in here because, just because, like I said, that if they're more likely to commit crimes and stuff, but then we should be trying to just do more to try and prevent that and vet them first and make sure that they understand the laws that they're all in this country. We should be like, they shouldn't be coming in here without learning about what's required of them, because then they can't just claim ignorance, Like if they're coming through, with like kind of in their dinghies or whatever, and they haven't gone through the right process, then it's their own fault if they get, kind of thrown in jail for I don't know, genuinely specific. Good day from across the pond. Fight for your country, my brother. Fight before it's too late. What we're supposed to do then? We don't need immigrants saying just let a few in a weak stance. We need remigration. What do you mean? I mean, like I said, there's some of them that can be beneficial to our economy, and that if they are, now there is a concern that if it gets too many, then it's actually going to overcrowd the country. Like, there's a lot of houses being built on greenbelt land, but then again, some of that isn't necessary if we learn to be more efficient, and maybe we need to try and use up the buildings that we have that are just empty. Like you've got, say, these companies that are just leaving buildings vacant or something. maybe something needs to be done with that. Maybe they should prioritize the homeless first, actually. But yeah, you're doing it right now. You are speaking about it. First step to solving a problem, one must first identify that the problem exists. Yeah. Some people say about, focus on the solution, not the problem, but the first step is to actually government overspending. Yeah, there's all that lobbying going on. It's really corrupt. Yeah, the government. Like I made a video a while ago talking about wanting to start a political movement. Maybe if I can try and talk more on these issues and with actual kind of pragmatic solutions and stuff that are actionable, and we get people on the side. Unfortunately, there's this kind of conflicts of interest. For example, you've got boomers and whatever who are hoarding up resources like land and property because they see it as a kind of way to make money. So someone mentioned this in a comment saying about something called renters capitalism, basically just extracting money out of thin air, not actually really creating any value because because that house existed before they went and rented it out or something. They've just literally just squeezing money out of you every year when it goes up and up in price. And imperialistic capitalism, like I said, I think there's some benefits to some kind of hybrid capitalist system, but there needs to be some regulation on it, I think. Hang on a sec.
Who's at the door? What's going on? There's somebody at the door. Hang on. I'll just be back in a sec. Talk about monopolies and stuff. There's 2 rules for them and us regarding taxes.
Yeah, talking about we've got people like Elon Musk who, they're getting all these tax returns and stuff, and but yeah, if you're an average person, it's you're just getting squeezed. Keir's turn up, we must mention the Promised Land. Oh yeah. Hello, whoa, Black Betty, Bam Blam. Yeah, it's a song in it. Whoa, Black Betty, Bam Blam. Yeah, that's soon, isn't it? Yeah. $80 million grants, blimey. Yeah, that is. It's with the whole kind of PPE, wasted PPE that during the lockdowns. Crazy stuff. Even the injections, a lot of that was just wasted as well because, I guess they kind of estimated how many people would take it, or they just kind of, I don't know what it was, but they had to kind of buy all that stuff up and then just waste it. The public sector is just so wasteful. I was talking about maybe we should be trying to shrink the public sector down. Maybe I don't know whether that's the right solution, but because then maybe we won't need as much taxes or something if we actually have because a lot of this kind of, public spending that's just being wasted. Now, some people even say that we should even have more taxes, like in Sweden, for example, where you should say, well, at least they're getting some good from the taxes there. I don't know how true that is, because I've never been to Sweden, so I don't really understand all that, but it's very expensive to live there. Bill Gates and his cronies got rich off of that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that PP company owned by British MP. Yeah, it's all just a Ponzi scheme, basically. I guess I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like a kind of just. No, it's not really a Ponzi scheme. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like a sort of, they're taking money off you to pay for. I guess they're taking money off you to pay for the PPE that the government owns. It's just yeah. It's just madness. Right, snakes from your dream. Okay, whatever, just, you know. Yeah, right, these trolls here. Let's get to 20 likes real quick. I'll be getting off in probably about 10 minutes or so, I think. But yeah, anyway, like the US owes China. Oh yeah. So in debt to China, you mean? Oh, you never wore a mask. Yeah, I kind of like tried to kind of avoid it at times, but those times where I kind of just, like, I would wear one just because I was around certain people and they were funny about it and whatever, but I never get leasehold property again. Over 30k lost on 2-bedroom apartment in Edgbaston, Beeham, and moving to freehold dwelling in southwest England was good value for money. Yeah, because leasehold you have to pay ground rent, and that, yeah, you have to look at, you know, how much would you have to pay for that. But a lot of time they don't specify that, so you just end up kind of. So you have to really look at the small print with these things, really. It's just bullshit, really, isn't it? You know. But I remember, like, my grandma actually did have to pay ground rent for a while, but then because the guy that would come and collect it, he would have to like come from quite far away. He couldn't be bothered, so he just ended up. I can't remember if he sold it to them or if he just kind of just stopped bothering or whatever. But so then it became freehold at that point. But yeah, 890 billion is crazy. I can come on a dinghy, speak broken English, pay no ground rent, and then get a 4-star hotel with fresh linen and fruit. I know, it's just, yeah, because they see it as a land of milk and honey, like, so then it's like, that's why we probably get so many, because it's like, whereas if we didn't make it so kind of appealing to them, then maybe we wouldn't have so many trying to come in here. I don't know. Then some people are saying that they're trying to come in here and just. I don't know what they're trying to do really, but is it just that? Some people are saying that, like, my dad actually thinks they're trying to take over. It's a luxury even as a criminal. Yeah, it's crazy that, and it's just. Criminals being trapped better than it's like even like prisons these days a lot of the times are not even really kind of that much of a punishment. In fact, some people might rather go to prison than, I guess it depends on what type of crimes. If it's like murders and stuff, then it's dangerous and whatever, but if it's like a sort of certain prisons that they can be quite yeah, well, they just do nothing and just end up kind of, yeah, dossing and whatever, and just free telly, free food, one room. Yeah, no. Yeah, don't they get a phone as well or something? Get an iPhone or whatever it is. But there's people who've actually like paid into the system and they don't even have that. But if you call out the migrant hotel situation, then you're deemed as a racist or whatever, or a bigot or whatever. It's like, well, is it wrong to like want to prioritize your own? I don't think so. But yeah, it's anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna do like a gym session later, I think. I might just not go as hard today. I didn't really do much yesterday on the workouts and stuff because, yeah, I wasn't feeling too great. So I think I've been overdoing it, to be honest. So I'm going to try and kind of moderate it more because I think that's been actually negatively affecting my immune system. It's got a bit ill, really, but yeah. I was feeling a bit high temperature like the other day, and I was just been feeling a bit tired as well, and just kind of meh. Yeah. It's literally madness. Say it out loud. I can legally go to the UK, get a warm bed and hot food for free, can rip any girl I want. All that happens is I move room, still get free telly, free food. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it needs to be sorted out, like, doesn't it? Because it can't keep going on like this, you know? When are people gonna say nothing enough? I mean, there's some people that are, but it just feels like a merry-go-round of just chaos. Like, the way that this is being run is just not acceptable. Like, you can probably see why people wouldn't want to vote anymore, because what are they voting for these days? If they didn't vote for Starmer, then they'd be voting for some corrupt Tory. People don't really feel like they even have much choice anymore, because there's not any good, like, independent ones that actually have any kind of power in Parliament or anything. So you don't really hear dissenting voices and stuff. Stay ready, those are soldiers. They are important in those hotels. They'll arm them soon. Yeah, I've heard about them being military age men. So it's something that we should be kind of concerned about, I think. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be getting off in a minute, I think, guys. Been going for a while, but yeah, it's been good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just I don't know if I'll be back on later potentially, but I don't want to I don't know what I'd end up talking about later, but yeah, I want to try and structure it out more in terms of like conversations and stuff, because I found that it's been helping my channel more and sort of having a more kind of a structure to it, rather than just talking about random shit that'll just not really have a proper title and stuff, and then people don't know what to expect. So yeah, and the algorithm doesn't know who to push you out to and things like that. So, yeah. Anyway, take it easy, brother. All the best. Really enjoyed your stream today. See you in the future. Oh yeah, will you be back again soon then, or? Yeah. Well, everybody, have a great day. I'll see you all probably tomorrow. Well, I don't know, maybe tonight or tomorrow. I don't know yet. Alright, take care, everybody. Bye for now. Yeah, thank you for subbing, everybody. Alright, bye.